What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Set Connects. Your host, Danny, Cannabis Entrepreneurial Dialogues. Our mission is to create spaces for people of color, brands of color, and minorities in the cannabis industry to be able to educate and empower our communities through storytelling and experiences. If you guys haven't hit the follow button on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button at CED Connects. Follow us on Instagram at CED_Connects. And I'm excited about today's episode. As you guys can see, we're here at Green Street in downtown LA, and we have a returning guest with Susie here from Humo, and we have another guest next to us, Flor Martinez, who we're definitely going to learn some more about. But first, I just want to introduce everyone. How are you guys doing, ladies? How are you?
Doing well. I'm so excited to have another holiday season upon us. I think when the year first started, I'm always thinking about the holidays as soon as
Really? Already?
Yeah, because I think that for Latinos specifically, we have a lot of traditions. But I think what I love about the holidays the most is that people are just in the mood for just being a little more kinder, a little more sweeter.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate it when it's here, and I appreciate it when it's gone, because I know that it's something that we can wait for.
For sure. Yeah. So we started talking because of the holidays, and because of that, like I had an idea of like, you know what, I want to do this toy drive. I want to get this together. Let's see how we can get Humo and Susie involved. So we gave you that call. And
come to find out, we were already working on something.
Yeah.
But great minds think alike, and I think when you're as focused on the community as we all are, it was already on our radar.
Yeah.
And it's just fate.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so that brings us to our guest, Flor. And Flor, you have an amazing story that I didn't know, I wasn't privy to until talking with Susie about, and even just talking with you just today. Like it's intense, but it's great to know that there's someone like yourself that is advocating for farm workers, for mixed status individuals in our country, in our state. And I really want to applaud you and give you your flowers for all the work you're doing. So thank you for being here and gracing us with your presence for today's episode. Like, for real.
Yeah, thank you. I'm feeling great. Thanks for having me.
So what we like to do in the episode is really learn more about you as a guest, your upbringing, and what was it like for you growing up with everything going on?
Yeah, so I was brought to this country from Mexico when I was 3 years old. I grew up with what you call the immigrant households. So I went through a lot of obstacles growing up, being treated differently by society, and just kind of, always getting the back end of the stick, or how do they say, the shortest end of the stick. And kind of seeing my parents be treated differently as well. And that also, shaped who I am today. And has shown me the reality of a lot of mixed status families, they're still the reality they're still living today.
Right.
A lot of these families, whether they be farm workers, street vendors, they're all just trying to make a living out here, and it's just really tough. So, the holidays are a great time. All year round, right? But the holidays are a great time, like Susie said, to give back to our communities and kind of show them that we're in this together, we're a community, and that no one gets left behind, Yeah. And then, Christmas joy, Christmas magic is another story. I think we all appreciate it and are here for it. So yeah. I'm excited to I won't spill any surprises, but I'll let you guys, explain what we have in the works.
And we'll definitely get there, but we want to get to, like, how did that come, even, like, how did that thought process even get there, right? So share with us, like, the advocacy work. How did the advocacy work even get started? When did that, like, start happening for you in your lifetime?
Yeah, so when I was about 12 years old, I started advocating for students, educational rights. I was advocating alongside my mom and all these other mothers that were trying to be heard. Their kids didn't speak English because they were new to this country, and they would be kind of placed into, hey, your kid's gonna go into special ed because they don't know English. And, you know, a lot of these moms, they didn't speak English either. So they were kind of confused, well, what's going on? Why are they taking my kids out of their regular classes, away from their friends? Something's not right here. So my mom, you know, she spoke some English and she was able to kind of figure it out. And so they joined an organization that helped them, you know, have a platform for their voices. And I was able to, you know, translate all these testimonies from all these mothers that just wanted to be heard, and I was their voice, right? And ever since then, I've loved doing advocacy work. I do a lot of immigrant rights advocacy, which are really human rights, and it's just been nonstop. You know, when Trump went into office, it was even more intense because we were just really trying to fight for our rights to even just be like welcomed here, right? I know he was attacking DACA a lot, and I have DACA, which is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. It's pretty much protection from deportation and a work permit for kids that were brought here basically without their will, right? Like they were brought here as kids, you didn't really have a choice to come here. And so ever since then, you know, I'm an organizer, so I do rallies, protests, you know, online campaigns, you name it. And it's just, that led me to becoming also like an event organizer, right? A coordinator, you know, I'm very good with people management, logistics. And when the pandemic hit, I actually had to pause that because all the events were, you know, paused till further notice. But it was actually perfect timing because I had wanted to start a nonprofit for a while that provided like free community events to families in need that weren't able to afford going to the movies with a family of 6 or go to Great America. That was way out of the picture, right? Because low-income families.
What's Great America?
Great America is an amusement park. It's similar to Six Flags, and it's in the Bay Area.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, I thought you were going to say like it's in Michigan or something. I had never heard of that one.
Yeah, you guys, take you guys. Yeah, we definitely got to take you guys. It's definitely a staple. And actually, I think they want to remove it. So it's been,
really?
yeah, for like decades now they've had it, but now it's, you know, technology is really taking over. And in Silicon Valley, they're eliminating things like that, where it's like, okay, well, if it's money, let's replace it.
Oh God, they want to move the
they want to move the fund.
Huh?
Yeah, right. They want to make it their way and change the name. I don't know, or make more like offices. Who knows?
Sure.
But basically, you know, the pandemic happened, but I still had this nonprofit I already was working on, and then in about August of 2020, there was all this fire smoke in the air, and then there was when the heat waves were happening all at once, and in the middle of a pandemic, and no one was really mentioning the farm workers. You know, reporters were talking about, hey, everybody should stay inside.
Oh, I remember seeing posts about the skies that were orange. And the farm workers were still out. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I actually was one of the people that were posting all those images, and that's actually how I went viral with all of this. I was at about 20,000 followers in early August, and like by the middle of August, I was already at over 100,000 followers because I was making these posts expressing my frustrations about the farm workers' conditions. Like I was telling people, go get your own food, go pick your own fruit, you know, farm workers don't deserve to be out there. They don't get hazard pay. They're not getting pandemic pay. They don't even get minimum wage. What's going on? And I was, you know, telling people, hey, vegans, you can't even say it's cruelty free because there's people being harmed in the process of making their food.
That part.
Period. So it's like.
And you come from experience from that, right? Because you've done it yourself too, right? Growing up.
So all this frustration came from experience because I used to be a farm worker when I was 14, 15 years old. I used to pick wine grapes in like Gilroy, Santa Cruz, and Watsonville.
What was that like?
Man, it was tough because I was only like 14 years old and I was with my little sister. She was 12 years old and my parents were there too. And here's the fact. Child labor is legal in agriculture, and it's the only labor force where child labor is legal. You're allowed to work since the age of 10 years old. Yeah, so no other industry are children allowed to work except agriculture.
So why is that, do you think? Is it because
they look like us,
families,
and they know who's going to be working them? They know that if the family needs food on the table, they're going to send their kids to work the fields, because then now you're talking about survival, you know. And you know, I got to see people faint, and then we were moved to night shifts because it got so hot, so you're working in the dark, you have these clippers, you cut yourself, these clippers are sharp. You know, and then we're talking about 14, 12-year-olds, you know, using these professional clippers, and, you know, you cut yourself, you know, you're all itchy from all the grape juice.
I mean, that's so strange to think that there are companies out there that will make cutlery and say you have to be this age to actually deal with the cutlery. But in the same country, you will have, you know, child labor laws.
A 10-year-old.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, industry, you know.
Picking wine grapes for wine they can't even drink yet, right? So it's like, what's going on? And it still happens today.
Yeah.
There's still at least 1 million, you know, kids working the fields today. And that's something that we need to also advocate for, because these kids shouldn't even have the option to work the fields, because they need to, you know, work on their education, because that's really what's going to further their, you know, get their family out of poverty, get themselves out of poverty, and like give them a better opportunity to a real better future, which is the reason, you know, their parents even work the fields to give their kids a better education. But it's like, if the kids going into the fields, you're just kind of repeating a cycle, you know. And so it's like, it's really up to advocates and just like change makers that would kind of use their voices to speak up for these kids, to speak up for these families, and find out ways to create change. For example, you know, with the toy drive, you know, we're able to give these kids a little bit of Christmas cheer, so they're not worried about, hey, I gotta go work the fields this month to make sure my siblings have presents because my mom can't afford it, you know. And just little things like that, or even like just being thought of and seen and heard makes a difference, you know, in emotional health, mental health, just
being seen.
Being seen, representation matters.
Is a really interesting point, because that's how I came across your account, is because of you were coming up with all of this content that's like, why isn't that is what we're shown? When we're shown farm workers, when we're shown who's growing our food, we don't get sent the pictures of the realities that they actually have to deal with. But you came up here and were showing people that, an unfiltered truth on what the farm workers have to deal with, and you're going to do with it what you will. And people wanted to find out more. I think that's why your followers shot up. They were like, oh, that's the truth. That is the unfiltered truth that we're not going to get from, you know, the companies that, you know, that just want to share you that photo. So that's definitely where I came across your account. I'm like, she's showing the realness, you know. And I think that all the people that do follow her content, her work, is because we need to empower people that are doing the work, because not all of us are able to do that.
And shout out to you, because that's a lot of bravery on your part, considering your status, considering all that you have against you, to still want to put that out there and like still showcase all of us that info. Like, that's a lot of bravery on your part, and you know, that's a lot.
It is. It's a lot of labor.
It's emotional labor.
It's emotional labor. It's physical labor. People think posting takes a second. It does not.
It does not.
It does not.
Your storytelling. Every post is storytelling. You want to be heard, and you have to be seen. You want to be able to state things and show your emotion through these texts, these pictures, right? Like, show how you feel. And then just going back to how I was showing, that I went up to like 100,000 followers. People were saying, hey, so how can we help? You know, what can we do? And so I put a goal of like $5,000 on GoFundMe, and before you know it, we raised $650,000 like overnight. And then boom.
Excuse me.
And then boom.
Wow. Yeah. I think that when you are able to connect with the community that feels the same way you do, that you're able to get across, because the thing is that a lot of people feel the way that you do, however they didn't have the vehicle to kind of get that across, but you're able to get that across to all these people. So I think all those people that support Flor, follow Flor, like we're all getting a piece of, like, we want to help but we don't know how, you know. So I think that through the founding of your foundation, your nonprofit is kind of an extension of what you've already built, you know. So I loved hearing about the Celebration Nation Foundation. When I found out about this organization, I went to your website and I just checked everything out. I love hearing about this nonprofit, and I think for nonprofits, you know, everybody kind of wants to create one, but then are they really going to do it? I would love to learn about kind of how the nonprofit came to be. Like, when did you kind of make that decision? Like, you know what, I need to take it there.
Yeah, so it was March of 2020. That's when the entity became official. We became a 501c3 in March of 2020. And like I mentioned, at first it was going to be like events for families in need, right? And then all of that with the farm workers started happening. And I mean, historically, the farm workers have been oppressed for so long. You know, they encounter pesticide exposure, backbreaking work, low wages, just underserved, underpaid, overlooked, right? And so those were the type of families that we were going to, you know, try to target for these events. And then, like as I mentioned, the pandemic hit, and we weren't able to have events. But then distribution events are still events. So we were still, you know, we were out there distributing smoke masks. You know, we've donated like 12,000 school backpacks filled with school supplies, you know, and then we've done like, at this point, like 30,000 toys in the past 2 years. And it's just mobilizing community members, giving them an easy way to get involved. I think that's the biggest thing. Nowadays, now and age, people want convenience. I mean, there's so many companies that I can name. No free promo. No, just kidding. That, you know, there's so many companies I can name that just, they blow up because of convenience. Right? And so it's like, okay, well, what can we do to make it convenient to give back? You know, people want things of a click of a button, right? Or like just an easy link.
Yeah.
And I'm okay, if that works, then let's do it this way to uplift our communities and like, you know, be able to raise funds. Because I mean, money is a resource, and then money is something that our communities lack. Right? And they lack resources, and money is one of them. I mean, when it comes to funding a business, when it comes to even just funding our school, our educational systems, like, it's for some reason, like, we get the lowest budgets. And I mean, there's a clear reason why. I mean,
because if we had, like, even just 10 of Flor's, like, we could have a lot. But the thing is that a lot of us deal with so many barriers to being able to get across our messages, and a lot of it is, I hate to say it, is self-confidence.
Yeah.
It's because you are chingona through and through, but I'm sure that a lot of other chingonas are hidden chingonas, but don't have whatever guidance, don't have whatever support, and they want to fight for their education, their, you know, what have you, but I don't know, I can't do it.
Right. And that came from like your experience growing up too, right? Because we talked about earlier about the schools that you attended, right? And the type of schools.
These women depending on me, I couldn't say no, I couldn't back down. It was either me or them trying to get the right words out, right? And then that's where that came from. And you know, speaking of what you just said, Susie, it's really important because representation matters. And in the beginning of it, when I went viral, yeah, a lot of good attention came, but also bad attention. You know, people, you know, if you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping, right? And it's like, I definitely felt that heat. There was a lot of heat.
How did you deal with that?
Actions speak louder than words. You know, sometimes it's not about how much you say to try to like defend yourself. Sometimes you just got to do what you know is right and just follow it through. And then like, yeah, actions speak louder than words. And I mean, I was getting a lot of hate just because how I looked, how I talked, how I came across, just, you know, like a bad bitch.
No,
like, you know what I mean?
It's also a bad thing because they want to label you as that, or they want to bring these preconceived notions to not actually hear you. They'll hear you, I mean, but they won't actually listen because they have
too
this
young,
idea.
she's too loud, she's too bold, she doesn't know how to run a nonprofit because she's never been in a nonprofit sector. Okay, well, you don't know that I've been an event coordinator, like, you know, it takes a lot of skills. I was professional, you know, like, so.
You're working with a lot of different people, a lot of different emotions, a lot of different,
everything. So it was all just, you know, previous skills that I obtained from my previous professionals, for my previous profession, and it's just, I was able to install it into running a nonprofit. And of course, you know, I was able to get an attorney, get a financial advisor, you know, get the people I need on my team to be able to run this show. Because nonprofit is for the people, by the people. You can't do it on your own. It doesn't belong to one person. It's owned by the public, you know? So that was something that, you know, definitely was a lot, like, as I mentioned, a lot of heat during that time. And yeah, I just stood my ground, and I let people know I'm gonna keep doing what I do. You like it or not, you can either stay in my circle or you could just, like, you know, go to the back. I don't know. You know, you're gonna hear me regardless. I'm gonna keep showing up. I'm gonna keep doing what I do, and we're gonna keep serving our community, either you like it or not. And like now, I don't really hear any haters, and I'm like, am I doing something wrong? I was just kidding.
You know what? They're there, but they quiet down when they realize it's whatever. You know
I mean,
what
now
mean?
It's like, if I,
They're still there though.
Now, yeah, I know. They're waiting for me to what? I don't know.
They just like to watch and listen. The haters are honestly the biggest fans. They just are dealing with something within them. You know, it's honestly, it's hitting themselves. I hate to say it. I just been, because that's why I asked you, how do you deal with it? Because it breaks down a lot of folks, you know?
It does.
It can make you question yourself, like
do I really know what I'm doing?
Yeah.
You know, like
that's the worst part of the haters, is that it makes you question yourself, and it derails and it takes energy away from you.
Yeah.
And that's where I think personally, when I had to wake up from it, is like, why am I spending hours obsessing over getting the haters to like me? They're not gonna like me no matter what I do. And instead, they've taken those hours that I can give to supporting Latinas, supporting Latinos in cannabis, to, being able to empower other people. So that was the switch for me, So would you say that the switch for you was just kind of understanding that with no haters comes no actual like support, or where was that turn from you?
I think when I realized that, like you mentioned, the haters come from something that they lack, or something that doesn't fulfill them, or they want to be in the position you are in, but they don't know how, or they just lack self-confidence or something. I realized that at the end of the day, we're all human. I mean, I don't know, man. That's a good question. Susan. Good question.
No, but I think that it's something that, it's something I consider, because it's early on, I talked about in the podcast last time that, I had an evolution personally. I wasn't always a strong chingona type. I was always very quiet, because I was like, do the right thing, don't piss nobody off. And it was another layer of being Latina, because I wanted to be accepted by these white people, be quiet, tone down the boldness, listen to everything, right? I was in school on a scholarship, so I just wanted to be like, get the opportunities that I wanted, but I knew to deserve. So I dimmed my light until I fucking ripped it open. Yeah. And then that's when shit started really popping off for me.
And it took anger, right? You mentioned that to me last time, it was the anger that got you to that point.
But I think in Flor's experience, like, she started dealing with that at an earlier age, where like 12 years old, dealing with that.
Yeah.
And I do want to mention something too. Yeah. For example, the hate, I kind of feel like I grew up like being undocumented, like you get hated on by the system, by authority, by, even like teachers, or like, people that are supposed to be supporting you, right? And so it felt the same but different when that started happening, when the hate was coming in. It was just another...
It's like a trigger.
It was just another, I don't know, like another obstacle. Yeah. Like, I was like, you know what? I've dealt with this growing up. Like, you know what? I'm going to keep doing what I do. I've had people doubt me. And then I've had the system try to bring me down. We've had people like Trump, who doesn't even deserve to be mentioned.
Biggest hater.
I know. Who kept consistently trying to like bring us down. Like, what is, some people with the smartphone, what is that gonna do? Like, and honestly, like, a lot of these people, they're coming from like, either unfulfillment, as I mentioned. And sometimes though, you can help them find that fulfillment in themselves. I mean, eventually I feel like a lot of these haters, I feel like a lot of them started becoming not fans, but like they started relating more to my story when I started opening up more, storytelling about, okay, well, this is where I come from.
Yeah.
This is where I come from.
It was more authentic.
It was like,
I
what's the word? I reacted with kindness.
Yeah.
At one point. And yeah, because I also did have my moment where I was like, by the way, guys, why would I even do this if I'm undocumented? Why would I get involved with the law? Like, if you're calling me like a scammer, like, why would I even do this and get deported over some money?
Wait, they called you a scammer?
They called me a scammer. That was like my haters, like, scammer. And I was like, what? None of you guys even know me. Like, I have to be literally on my tippy toes to keep my DACA. If I pass a red light, I'm at risk of losing my DACA. That means I'm at risk of deportation. That means I can't work. I can't even have this nonprofit. I have to go back to Mexico. And who's going to help the farm workers?
Oh, man. No, we need
Who's going to help our undocumented community have like a voice, that I worked so hard to even get out of myself, having that voice. And just, I guess being overseas for so long, and just, having to use my voice to help others, I finally used it for myself.
Yeah.
And I think though there's an issue with like, online bullying, and I feel like that's something like during the moment when I was experiencing it, I was too shy to say anything about it. But then I know after I overcame a lot of that, it's something that I also want to like reflect on and kind of talk about, because no one should have to go through the emotional like trauma that like, you know, online bullying brings.
Right.
And because there's a lot of kids and just youth and just people that go through that every day. And then like sometimes you just need a post that says, hey, whatever you're going through, like you're gonna be all right. Like this is temporary. Like it's not like, it doesn't define you what people say about you. Like, I don't know, it just really opened my eyes to a lot of that, because I was like, if I'm going through this, and look at me trying to give back, like this is what I do, I'm giving back to the community, and this is what I get in return.
Yeah.
Like it was, because then like you said, like there's a lot of girls that are shy that have the same fire, right? But they're scared when they see things like that. They're scared when they see someone attacked for doing things that they're supposed to be good.
So it validates them for them to like just kind of, you know what, I should just stay quiet then.
Yeah, it makes them really standoffish and like go back into their shadow. But then like when someone like me comes up and is like, look, first of all, we're not gonna let that ish slide. Can I cuss on the show?
Yeah.
Like we're not gonna let that shit slide. We're gonna keep doing what we do, and we're gonna move forward and help our communities. And then yes, you can look like this. Yes, you can talk like this, and like you don't have to fit in a box. Because I feel like a community organizer, community leaders, they try to put us in a box. We're supposed to dress a certain way, have certain vocabulary, you know, try not to cuss, don't go out, don't party, don't dance. And here I am doing everything that I'm supposed to not do. And it's like, I'm just here trying to represent that girls, you know, yeah, our next generation, I mean, I might not look like Cesar Chavez, or I might not even act like him, but you know, like I have, you know, I mean, we're here trying to fight for like the same, just uplifting our community.
Well, you brought that up earlier too. That you know, there's the Chavez, right? There's Cesar Chavez. There's the Dolores Huerta, and then there's you.
Hey, I love that.
And so like.
And then how I don't really, yeah. And then for example,
and
me.
they didn't have that.
They didn't have social media.
They didn't have that social media.
Yeah. So like, you know, our previous.
We
have to adapt. And our previous leaders, they didn't have social media. They didn't have this tool. It's such an important tool with the advocacy work I do. I mean, because for example, you can go door to door knocking, right? Trying to get signatures for your campaign, or you can do this and that and try to stand in front of a sign or in front of a building, you know, rallying with like 20 people. Or you can go online, make a post. You can get like millions of views, and you're reaching all these people, getting this word across. And it's like, it's so crazy, like social media used as a tool, the way I've used it, it's just incredible. Wow, I've even surprised myself, because social media, I mean, it's a tool that, I mean, I think us as like millennials kind of have been able to play with. We're the ones realizing the power of it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, there's a whole generation that you know, I definitely, because I'm a former consultant and I would obviously help these people how to use social media.
Mm-hmm.
They honestly don't have a brain for it. Like I try to teach them to do a post, and they're just like, holy shit, I can't do it. And then that self-confidence leaves, and then the voice leaves, and then they're back at holding the sign in front of a building, because that feels comfortable for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what you've been able to do is you're using these tools, because that's where your community is. Because I've seen you do some fun social media posts that are just a trend, but the text you're putting it relates to the message you're sharing. And that's the secret sauce. If you guys are looking to make content that resonates with your community, know where they are. If they're on the internet, if they're on Instagram, that's your channel. And you know, you got to look at these trends and see how you fit in between the trend and your message. And I think that's the secret sauce, right?
it is storytelling with trends, trending audios, trending dances, you know, trending skits, you name it. You do need to have some type of knowledge on social media to be able to do what I do. And I mean, I've worked in a handful of like, you know, social media platforms before. So
you got the insider info.
Well, because look at her reels. They're so captivating, but they're also entertaining.
Right.
But at the end of the day, because I'm a PR person, the message that she's trying to share, which is call to action, get out, donate, all these things are still shared, you know. And so I think for those dinosaurs out there that are like, oh, I'm gonna just hold my sign in front of a door. You gotta learn how to connect with your community in an authentic way. But if your people are on Instagram and then you're gonna go hold up a sign, like, you know, good luck. You know?
And I think it's important too. It provides an avenue for young leaders, you know, like the youth, to be able to step in and be like, hey, I can help you. Like, let me put you on my TikTok. Let's make you go viral. Can you make this dance with me? Like, because I know we can reach more people. Oh, you want people to vote? Okay, well, I have, you know, I know how to do this. I know how to use TikTok. Maybe we can work together.
Yes.
And imagine the mind, of an OG, and then the mind of the youth, and then just coming together, like boom.
That's where magic happens.
Yeah, speaking on the youth part too, I had a question was, what would 12-year-old version of yourself that started this think of who you are now with everything that you've accomplished and strive to do in the future?
That's a special one. What does that mean, La Niña?
What would she think? She probably wouldn't believe me. I just think, at 12 years old, what was I thinking at that time? I was like in middle school.
Yeah, so what, seventh grade?
Well, yeah, seventh grade. Man, that's a tough time for a kid though in general, because you're getting out of that like kid zone, but you're getting into like how mean these kids can get, man. So that's a tough time.
I'm definitely proud of myself and how far I've come.
Yeah.
I think even just as like the oldest daughter, just even being able to provide like for my siblings and my family is a huge accomplishment, because we were living like, from house to house to house, because my parents couldn't afford rent. Because no one also would even want you to be a tenant, because you don't have all this paperwork, because you don't have papers, right? And I just had to also look aside from calling myself like an immigrant, calling myself undocumented, and really just being like, well, what am I? And it's like, okay, well, if I'm gonna label myself anything, it's indigenous, and indigenous is land. That means, we belong here. You're not an outsider, you're not a foreigner. You belong here, and so do your people. So it's about kind of bringing them all together as one and letting them know the truth, because they keep our history from us in this country.
Yeah.
And,
Or just tell us a whole different history completely.
Yeah, and a couple years ago, I took a DNA test because I couldn't even convince like my siblings that they were indigenous. They were like, no, we're Latino. And I was like, that's not a race, like, oh, well, we're Mexican. That's a nationality. Like, we're something else aside from what they call us, which is an immigrant or undocumented or DACA. These are just labels they put on us. Hispanic, Latino, like Latinx. Those are all labels on top of, they're covering something up. And it's that we're all indigenous to the land. And I think that's just because, we have ties to the land. It makes them afraid that we're all gonna come together. And so like, just even kind of like unraveling my truth of like, who I am really helped me like understand like, where am I taking this movement? What is this movement really? And it's really like, because I'm a big advocate for immigration reform, like immigrant rights, because they're, like as I mentioned, they're human rights. And a lot of that, I've done the rallying, the protesting, the signed petitions, like campaigns here and there. And it's like, I feel like what's really been working is kind of just waking the giant.
Yeah.
Letting them know their power. Because it's like enough of trying to convince the higher, the people in power. Let's show the people that they have the power.
Yeah.
What's that one saying? The power of people is greater than the people in power.
Oh, I love that one. But it's 100% true, because we are the ones that our votes put the elected officials up there. Also, when we get together and we collectively say something is wrong, change happens. I look at what happened just a few months ago. Would you guys remember watching the news? What happened with Tyga in that music?
Oh, yeah.
If that would have happened a couple years ago, nothing would have happened. It would have still been playing. But the people got together and collectively were like, this is wrong. They actually, it's gone. They took it down. And it's hard to keep accountable other people of color, because they think sometimes
that
like,
part.
Oh, we're good because we're of color too. So
that
we can,
part.
Nah, it's about being able to call each other out respectfully and being like, hey, it doesn't make you immune that you're of color. You can still, cause harm by doing this. So I think that, where we have that power in numbers, but I think with Latinos where we struggle is that, I heard this a while ago, it's like, why are other communities united and not Latinos? We're complicated, right? We're complicated because we have white people, we have
we're
black people,
with
and
European.
we have indigenous people. Like, white people are white folks, like, so like, we have this whole melting pot, within it lies so much diversity and potential, like, hate, right? There's colorism within us.
Yeah.
So that is like the truth of why it's so hard to us. But I think to your point is waking the sleeping giant starts with education.
Yeah.
It's proper education.
Yep.
And I think representation, right? And ultimately, I want to segue like how we got to meet each other, you know, and I think that it is kind of like where that all collides. Social media, right?
Social media. Back to social media.
Yeah, social media. So I started following you around the time when you started really speaking out about the conditions in the workplace. As a journalist at heart, I'm always looking to see like what the true story is, and like I'm looking at press, but then how does it match with someone in the community that's actually showing this stuff? So I was really impressed by your ability to just cut the bullshit and share, you know. So that really spoke to me. So then we started following each other, and we saw that we had a similar vibe, you know. So it was great, you know. She invited me out to a women's empowerment conference here in downtown LA, and ever since then we were kind of like working
on each other's radar.
Yeah, on each other's radar. And she actually came and celebrated an Humo event around April.
The Nacho Libre one.
Yeah, yes, and it was our first, you know, big April event, you know, here.
420.
Yes, it was. So it was our first big, you know, bigger kind of event since our launch party. So it was so great to have you there. And ever since then, we were like, what do we do?
We're like, something's gonna stir up.
Something's up. And I think it was just, it had to happen. So with the holiday season, it was when you called me.
Right.
We had already had our first conversation.
Earlier that day is what you mentioned.
Yeah. It was when we had just seen each other, and we had talked about doing a potential donation drive, because they do donation drives already with her organization, the Celebration Nation Foundation. And I thought, wouldn't it be so cool if we get together and do some kind of donation drive, but utilize the fact that Humo was in close to 200 dispensaries all throughout California. What if we chose a couple of them to be drop-off locations for the donation bins? So we just had our first touch base call, not even any planning, but it was just like, hey, let's do it. That day, I get a call from Danny. He's like, hey, he's like, I have this idea. He's like, I kind of want to do like a donation drive, but we like have a way to use dispensaries. I was like, I think we're on the same page. So then it was like, from then on, I was like, dude, I gotta let you know about my homegirl Flor. Like, she's out here, she's a chingona. Like, you're gonna like her. And then at that point, we just started planning it and putting the pieces in place, and happy to announce that, you know, we have our community donation drive campaign that we're officially launching. So these right here are our donation boxes. And so we originally wanted to go with 10 dispensaries throughout the California area, but then one thing leads to another, and we have 15 that signed up. We're so excited. Shout out to those shops, because in order to be involved in this, they have to be okay with hosting this donation bin. And basically, we're inviting folks to go to the donation bin locations. You donate a gift. It is unused toys, clothing, shoes, anything that you really want the families of farm workers to be able to utilize. Really excited for these 15 dispensaries to be partnering with us to really give back to the local farm workers up in the Salinas area. So this is something that, you know, we're so proud of to participate, you know, with alongside you know, you. And so tell us a little bit about, you know, leading up to this donation campaign. What other donation, you know, campaigns have you been doing?
Yeah, so we do our Food Bank for Farm Workers program, which is probably our biggest program for now. And we serve families every weekend, a couple times during the weekend, all across California. And we noticed, you know, there's a lot of kids that show up. And they show up with their families, and they're just looking for food security. You know, isn't it crazy that the farm workers that feed us don't even make enough to feed their families?
That is wild.
During the winter season, you know, the harvest is over, and a lot of these parents, a lot of these farm workers, they don't have a means of income anymore, you know, so a lot of them are getting either loans or they're going off their savings. But how much can you really save at $13.50 an hour? Mm-hmm. And so during this time, it's just really hard. Our food bank, you know, doubles. We have double the amount of families. You're talking about regularly like 300. We get like 500 plus families showing up per distribution. We're feeding 10,000 people every month. And so this couple months, you know, November and December, when they're not working, we want to be able to give them more than we already do. And with the holidays here, we want to be able to give them some type of holiday cheer. These kids, I mean, they already see their parents go to work every day, really early in the morning. You're talking about 4 or 5 a.m., coming home late, covered in dirt, if it rained that day, covered in rain. If it was really hot, just sunburn. And the kids, they're getting woker, right? They're understanding what their parents are going through, and sometimes it hurts them. Like, wow, you're really going out there and we don't even have a chicken to eat right today because you didn't make enough. And so it's like, I would love for them to wake up and understand that that's because their parents aren't allowed to have a social, so it makes it hard for them to be able to work a regular job, so that makes them low income, and it's all just like a big circle, right?
But also ability to take advantage of a lot of community resources too, that they won't allow you to even take part in.
Yeah, so a lot of families, when they're undocumented, they're afraid that, obtaining assistance like food or rent assistance, they think it would affect their chances at citizenship. And it really doesn't. But there's this whole stigma or rumors that it will. And so, for example, with Celebration Nation, there's a lot of trust in our nonprofit, not just from our donors, but from the people on the receiving end. The farm workers, they trust us. We bring translators that speak Mixtec or Triqui, which are indigenous languages. So there's never that communication barrier, which a lot of other big entities,
no, they're not thinking about it.
They think that, if they see any type of obstacle, they're going to be like, oh, well, never mind, we're not going to help them, because it's just not in their favor to assist our communities. So with us, we travel very far to meet these families. So, because we know a lot of them don't have transportation. We know that, a lot of them carpool to school or go to work, And there's just so many different barriers, even just, for example, like I said, many being undocumented, they just refuse to go to a public food bank. But with Celebration Nation, they know they can come to us. A lot of them know me, they know I'm, undocumented, and they have this trust already that we've been building for the past 2 years. And then so when it comes to toys, it's just they trust us enough to let their kids line up and come in, open the doors, get a gift. It's a safe place for these communities, and we're just so grateful that we were able to build this trust in our communities, and that we're able to reach so many families because of that trust.
Yes.
Because a lot of this is about accessibility, and we access these families to give them access to other resources, to nutrition, to education. But without that trust, we're nothing. So it's, our whole foundation is built on integrity and just building that trust in our communities from both ends.
And it is hard to build trust among Latinos, because we have, like you said, we've been lied to, we've been exploited in a lot of ways, and especially too, you think nonprofits are always helpful. Sometimes they could be very exploitive as well. So I think that, I don't blame them for being wary, but I think that, you said it, it's about building that trust, and I think that, I've definitely learned a lot about the farm worker, work schedules up in the Salinas area. Of course, our Farm Possible project is in Salinas, and they're mixed light farm, so we actually are able to employ year-round work opportunities for the farm workers. And that I didn't know about the worker opportunities. Sometimes 2 to 3 month work opportunities, and they have to look for other work. At the farm, we're grateful to employ over 100 people at the farm consistently.
That's great.
Nobody hops around.
That's great.
And what we're really proud about at the farm about that. However, it's cannabis, so it is that way. They're not able to partake on it, but then they grow it. So I think about that dynamic sometimes as well when we think about the farm workers creating this opportunity to where they're filling your tables, but then their tables are not as filled. They're growing your flower, however they're not going to be smoking it because of the stigma, or they're they might get immigration aspects of it, issues arising from that. So I think that there's a dynamic there that we have to wake up to as consumers. As consumers of food, as consumers of cannabis, we really have to wake up and remember who are the ones that are growing it, who are the ones that are putting their whole livelihood on the line so that we can enjoy these things. So I think that by giving back is one of those things and how we do that. And I think, I'm grateful that we have community members like yourself that are putting themselves on the line to create opportunities for others to also participate, because of the work that you've done is why, Humo and Rolling Valley Distribution are able to, help empower, your work really, instead of just kind of us, let's figure out what we can do. We can put all our tools and energy into supporting an amazing foundation that's kind of deserves that support, and hopefully we can inspire, other companies to get with it and to empower, you and your organization, the message that you bring. But I wanted to touch base on the locations where
Oh yes, please.
can donate, because we're
love
going to
to
be
hear it.
announcing this, and we want folks to get out there and donate your new or gently used toys, shoes, clothing, anything that you feel like maybe you've been sitting on that you haven't worn and it's brand new. That's the kind of item that you should donate, because there's someone out there that is really cold out there, or maybe just would love to appreciate that better than you have, because it's been sitting in the closet for a year and a half. So get it out.
Yeah, so where are these shops at?
Yes, so these shops are located throughout the California area, but we didn't want to just pick LA or just pick one area. We wanted to choose locations that are spread out so that folks all over California can really have that opportunity to donate. So the first location that we're going to touch base on, you guys can let me know if you guys know them, Zen Garden in Sacramento. Shout out to Zen Gardens.
Sacramento.
Zen Garden, so they offer the largest selection of flower, edibles, vapes, concentrates in the Sacramento area. They carry Humo, and they will be getting the bins shortly. We mailed it out a couple days, so actually might still be there. But as soon as this gets announced, you guys go and start donating your goods in exchange for an Humo BOGO deal, and they are going to be good to go. Our second one, they actually are huge fans of Flor. Shout out to Paul and Georgie out at Purple Lotus. Purple Lotus is actually the #1 dispensary in San Jose.
Right.
They are in San Jose. They are really well known and actually really tough to get a hold of them in general. When Humo was getting in there, it was like, hello Georgie, hello Paul, nobody there, because they're #1 in San Jose. So when it comes to them including brands in their portfolio, they're like, well, who are you, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I believe it. I just delivered to them last week. So I was there.
But I think it comes down to the community trust.
Absolutely.
They have the community trust in San Jose, so they're not about to be bringing in brands that I don't know who you are. They heard about Humo, and we're in the shop, so we made the cut, and they made the cut for our dispensary. So be sure to check out Paul and Georgie out in Purple Lotus. They are San Jose's #1 dispensary. Great selection, great brands, because they curate them pretty well. But they're going to be getting a bin, and I'm so excited for them. Third is the homies, Butter, North Hollywood here in the Valley. Shout out to Scooby and Chris. They are located in the San Fernando Valley, so North Hollywood, and they are a wonderful social equity owned dispensary, brown owned, Latino owned dispensary, and really excited to have them partner here. So they're going to be having a bin. #4 on the list, we got Verde Plus. Y'all know Verde?
Yep, South
Verde.
Central.
Yes, South Central.
South Central
Shout
LA.
out to South Central. They are a Latina owned dispensary here in LA, here in South Central. Shout out to Elizabeth and Vanessa out from Verde Plus. Big supporters of Latinos and specifically Latinas in cannabis. Really just so proud to support an organization like them, because they are social equity as well. And they really beat the odds to really have a dispensary, just like all these other social equity dispensaries that we have to really come out and support. When we think about where our money goes, social equity owned, brown owned, minority owned, we get to make the industry by voting with our dollars. So shout out to Verde Plus for making it. Continuing on the social equity train, we got Yerba. Shout out to Guillermo out from Yerba and Puff LA. Both of their locations are going to be drop-off locations.
Nice.
I'm actually going to be dropping them off today because it's a local. If you guys haven't been to Yerba, I'm sure you've seen it on this podcast, but that's where we shot the last one.
Yep.
But love the folks over at Yerba. It's such a gorgeous shop. It's just a very Latino beauty. It's the beauty of Boyle Heights, really captured in a dispensary location. It's gorgeous out there. So shout out to Yerba and Puff LA, and be sure to visit us at the Munchies Festival that we do every month with the fam out there. Moving along, Artistry. Artistry. Shout out to Artistry. All 5 locations wanted to be a part of this donation campaign.
That's dope. Thank you guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we got Artistry Fresno, which is really
Fresno.
special. Tell us about the Fresno area.
We needed a Fresno location, so this is huge. You guys are gonna be packed.
Yes, they are. Fresno is a very, very Latino area.
Farm workers.
A lot of farm workers up there, and we want to let them know, they're going to get one of these boxes, so be sure to visit Artistry Fresno, Artistry Riverside, Artistry Beverly Hills, Artistry West Hollywood, and Artistry K-Town. Those last 3 locations already got their bins, so they're going to be there. The Artistry, you guys gotta know about Artistry. They're really impressive group out of Los Angeles. They started in 2019 with their first location, and they really wanted to highlight, cannabis art community. So if you ever go to one of their locations, they're gorgeous. A lot of artwork is in the forefront. I went to the K-Town location yesterday, and I felt like it was in an art gallery. Like it was just really just great space, really inviting. But they're all about, fusing the culture and art and lifestyle all into one. So their businesses and their events and their shopping, like it's all very tuned in to this kind of artsy kind of persona that they really like to do. It was created by Lauren Fontaine, Aviv Halimi, and the brothers Avi Kanan and Mitchell Kanan. So they are all operators of the whole chain, and I believe a few of them are, yes they are, so it looks like Aviv and Mitch are USC alums. Shout out, I am a USC alum, so I like to shout out other Trojans in the cannabis industry. So shout out to them. What I like most about them is that they have LA's #1 cannabis lounge. They have a really awesome lounge here in Santa Monica, on Santa Monica Boulevard. Their WeHo location it's great because it's kind of like a comedy show where you kind of come, you have to buy something, and then you just watch comedy all night. Except instead of booze, it's greens. So it's really great out there. Be sure to check out all of their comedy events. They do them every Thursday. We're going to be coming back with doing some events on Sundays, so be sure to keep up and go to every Artistry location is going to have a bin. So be sure to go out there. Shout out to Artistry again. Keeping it going, we have Tradecraft Farms. All 3 locations wanted to join, and I really love Tradecraft Farms. Have you gotten into one of their shops?
No, I've been wanting to go there. I know I reached out to their team, and so I want to get in there. Want to maybe even have an episode out of there too.
Oh hell yeah!
So we're working on that.
I think that they're great.
They have a Montebello spot, no? Is it
El Monte.
El
They
Monte.
have an El Monte location. They have a Port Hueneme, and they have a Vista out in San Diego. So we're getting some coverage down there as well. So with their locations there. So shout out to Christina over at Tradecraft Farms, Latina-led dispensary chain. Christina there is she's just one of those Latina chingonas who has been in the industry advocating for I'm gonna say the bud tender. She really just has her team of girls that she trusts, that she gives them leadership work. She doesn't just kind of give them little stuff, she has them lead. So I really appreciate how this chain of shops is run, because it's empowering as a woman in cannabis. And when we first met, we met on that, on the fact that we were Latinas in cannabis. So we just vibed immediately, and it's a really strong partnership there at Tradecraft. So I'm really excited to have all of their 3 shops involved in this campaign donation drive. And that's our 14th and our 15th location. They came in, swooped in last minute. I'm so glad they did. CCA Silver Lake, California Caregivers, here in the Silver Lake, California area. Super awesome location, located at Sunset Boulevard. So they're going to be actually hosting our last bin there, and that sums it all up. We're going to be posting up on social media to make sure that folks know where to get them, but you guys heard it here first. We can't do this without our partners, without other people that believe in the mission and knowing what we're doing. And we're so excited that, from the moment that I've been talking to folks about this, they're like, hell yeah, fuck yeah, I'm trying to do that too, we'd love to. And I think that that's what the point of all this is. It's not, I think that marketing's great and all, but when you can make marketing actually create change and bring good to our community, that's the sauce. It's not about figuring out how we can do good marketing. It's about how can we reach people with good marketing. And I feel like when you have that approach, everything's gonna pop off, right?
Absolutely. Yep. No, you get it right.
Yes.
And then there's no community without unity. So really it's about working together and setting that example that, you know, our communities are better when we're together. Juntos somos más.
Period. Like, juntos is where we make the real change happen, because you're out here doing donation bins without us, right? You're out here doing your stuff without, and I'm doing, you know, so, but here we are coming together because
Something
we can, because we want to make sure that we reach as many people, and you know, me and Danny, we're so focused on representing Latinos in the cannabis industry. It's been so grateful to be able to do this, something like this together, you know, for the holiday season. I think reminding folks that this is our time to give back, and you can do it in line with what you believe in as well. Like, it doesn't have to be something so separate. Like, you can use it with the resources that we have, right?
Yeah.
I think with Humo early on, like, we have a marketing budget, but since day one, I've been throwing it back at the community since day one, and that is the best marketing dollars that I will ever spend. I will rather sponsor a Latina poetry session at a small event than throw a $30,000 party with people that I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, that will always win more than just flashy stuff. When you focus on the community, you're always gonna win, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I love that approach.
Absolutely. Do you have any shout outs that you want to do before we close out? Want to shout anyone out?
Shout out to all my Indígena, Latinos, Latinas, people out here, you know, representation matters. And, you know, we're the ones making the blueprint, you know, for the next generations to come, just to show them that si se puede, like, we could do it, and you can do it too. You just gotta stick to your, you know, put your mind into it, and everything else will follow. As long as you lead with your heart, like, it's all gonna be there. It's gonna all show up for you.
Where can our listeners find more about you and the organization?
We're on every social platform. You can also find me at Flower in Spanish. Flower in Spanish. Not the word, but like the 3 words, Flower in Spanish. And celebration.
We printed it on the bins, actually. So if you have a hard time, everything
it's at the
is
bottom.
on the bins.
And then at celebration.nation.org, or our website, celebration-nation.org.
Yes, and we
Thank you,
also
guys.
included a scan code on the boxes. If you guys are out donating the boxes and you want to donate more, there is a QR code on the box, and we're actually happy to, you know, include it in all our tags as well. And you can donate more on the QR code. So that's why I wanted to make sure to put that on the box.
Yeah, and then this year is the first year we're accepting like gently used toys, as I mentioned too. So go in, you know, your kids or your siblings' closets, you know, get out stuff they only used once, stuff they outgrew. There's plenty of kids that will be more than grateful to receive those items.
Yes, the holiday season, and we're so grateful for Rolling Valley Distribution to be our distributor for this amazing donation campaign. They're going to be going out and picking up all the stuff.
That's a lot of logistics.
I know, right? but what's great is that it's Latino-owned distribution, which is something that we need to be empowering and supporting. So I'm really, really grateful to be partnering with you on this as well. And I think that, so they're going to be picking up all the donation bins, right? Right before our big event on December 16th, you guys.
In Salinas.
Yes, we are going to Salinas, and we're going to be having our distribution event. So all of the stuff that you guys donate from now until the 2nd week of December, Danny's gonna come through, pick them all up, and then take it to the farm. And then we're gonna have such an amazing event up there in Salinas on the 16th. All for farm worker families in the local Salinas area. We're gonna be distributing all of these goods. We're gonna have food. We're gonna have raffles, a few more surprises. I won't give too much because I'm still working on that. But it's gonna be a fun time. It's for the community.
Yeah.
Like, it literally is that. I was talking to Jesus, my partner from Possible Project, and he's like, Susie, he's like, it's like, I want to do more. I want to do more because, at the farm, we have all these rules and regulations, OSHA, all this stuff. We're very compliant. So we are not able to kick back the employees with weed. That's against the rules. However, we can give back in other ways. So this is one of those ways that we've been itching. Like, as soon as Humo started doing well, Jesus was like, we need to get with it. And I'm like, I'm on it. I'm on it. Because I think we've gotten away from the fact of the mentality that because you have a business, that's the number one. No, you have a business, you have people that you have to keep a business for.
They're the ones keeping you afloat.
Yes. So I'm really grateful that I have partners at the farm that have that mentality in mind. Jesus and the rest at the farm, their number one is the employees at the farm, the families that they're responsible for. So really grateful to have those kind of partners because that's kind of what we need here. It's bigger than just the money in our pockets. It's about what are we given to continue to grow, right? So yes, excited. December 16th is the event. Go out there and support the community, guys.
And just one more thing, there was a quote that I read today. It says, even if you impact just one life, you've already impacted the whole world forever.
It's true.
Thank you both for having me. It was my pleasure, and I can't wait to do good and make all these families super happy during this time of year. Thank you both. It means so much from the bottom of my heart.
Absolutely. And thank you for coming. Thank you for coming down. And like I said earlier at the top of this, for gracing us and being here, spending your time with us. I really appreciate you. Straight up.
Yes.
And Susie, thank you for putting this together.
Yes, of course. Happy to do it.
This together.
Yes.
All right. And with that being said, my shout outs to my 3 girls. Hi, Dali, Rosie, Faith. Love you. And with that being said, we're out. See you guys.